What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Major Keyz podcast, talking to keyboard players about music and life and everything in between. Today, as always, we got a special guest, Mr. James Francies. What's going on, man?
Oh no, all is well. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. What you got going on currently?
What have I been doing, man? I've been playing so much in the city these days in New York.
Mhm.
Just been playing around. Then we go to Europe in a couple weeks. Then working on some records with Yebba. Then just kind of finishing up her stuff. Then doing some stuff with Nate Smith later this year. So just getting the schedule together for 2025.
For
Just
sure, man. I dig it. I dig it. So we're gonna start from the top, man. How did you get started with music, with playing keys, all that sort of stuff?
I mean, I started when I was 4 years old. Everybody kind of at some point plays in church. So for me, I just remember, my parents kind of noticed that I always had good ears. Like, they noticed that they could play a note on the piano and I could go and like, oh yeah, I'm gonna play this note. And
Okay.
I was really good at replicating just songs that I heard. So they put me in lessons and I really wanted to do it. And then I just had an affinity for jazz. I was like, yeah, I really want to know how to do that. I was like, playing in church is cool, but I'm like, I want to learn how to like teach me that.
Yeah.
My dad, he's a big jazz fan, so he take me to all the jazz clubs and
Mhm.
hear all the different musicians. And I was like, yeah, I want to learn how to improvise. I want to learn how to
Mhm.
like how to do the Oscar Peterson. Like how does he do that?
Right.
But it all kind of started just playing in church and learning hymns and playing with choirs and just doing gigs around town. But I started when I was really young.
Gotcha. You say you come from a musical family, like your parents are musicians, or how does
Oh,
that
not
work?
not at all, just fans.
Oh,
You know,
gotcha. Okay.
yeah. But my dad, he's he loves just records. He introduced me to John Coltrane, and my mom
Okay.
is like Earth, Wind, and Fire, and all these different just cool records.
For sure. For sure. And so you started playing when you were four, like
Mhm.
you had the ear, you said.
Yeah.
And so do you remember like what you were picking up and all that sort of stuff?
Just songs like from the radio, or like when I
Yeah.
did, piano lessons. I started off playing classical music, and I didn't really want to learn. I could read music, but my reading wasn't as strong, and
Hmm.
so my teachers would be like, "Okay, play this," and I would just kind of memorize what it sounded like. So I
Yeah.
can remember if they say, "Okay, play from bar 32," I'd have to play the whole from beginning all the way to 32.
Yeah, like I ain't got you on bar 30.
I was
Let
like,
me
let me
work.
go back. So then, once they realized like, oh, he's playing, his ear is really strong. We have to get his reading to be the same par. So
Got you. Got you.
I'd be playing
Uh,
stuff like that. Just simple classical pieces or like written out jazz pieces.
for
Just
sure.
as a kid would do.
For sure. And you liked it at first, like, because sometimes we like you can be good at something, but you don't necessarily like it. But like, did you like it immediately, or did it take you some time to like kind of grow it?
I liked it because it was just so like interesting to where I'm an only child, so it was interesting just to be able to have something to just constantly get better at.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like I definitely had a lot of intuition, but for me, I enjoyed the process of just like discovering stuff. There'd be times like I had a keyboard. I had one of the cheap keyboards because we didn't have money for a real piano at the time. So I had one
Casio?
probably
Yeah.
Jasio, probably wasn't even Casio. Just so but then I'd have the headphones on and I would just be under there practicing. The repertoire I was supposed to learn, but then I would just be making stuff up. I'd hit the rock drum number one, and the beat would start playing, and I'd be okay. Let me just play along to this. So I
For
feel like
sure.
I've always had that intuition and just affinity just for discovery. Just learning how to
Hmm.
say what happened. You know.
Got you. And so you were doing that. and then you kind of started playing in church. Was the transition from playing like classical and like reading music and that sort of stuff, was the transition to playing in church easy, or was it like, or was it
I don't even
that?
remember. For me,
Yeah,
it's kind of all the same. I feel like a
yeah,
lot
yeah,
of
for sure.
people blend it together. For me, the real switch was like I want to learn how to play jazz, quote
Yeah.
unquote.
Hmm.
I went to this program called the Summer Jazz Workshop, which almost every musician from Houston kind of went through.
Hmm.
And there I met this piano player, Bobby Lyle, who's like a piano legend. And he used to live in LA and he had moved to Houston. He's still there now. And then he kind of took me to say, okay, now I'm going to show you this whole other world, how this, you know, exists. So like all the Oscar Peterson records and learning how to read chord changes, F13, sharp nine, sus4, all that stuff. That's the person that got me into learning that because coming from like any other style of music, you see like something with a pound sign and an 11 and a
Yeah,
sharp.
yeah,
You're like
yeah.
it looks like a whole other language, which it is.
Right.
But just knowing like what you're hearing, he taught me how to like identify what you're hearing.
Hmm.
You know,
Got you. Like almost like reverse engineering it. It's like, yeah, you can play it, but like, hey, this is actually what you're doing,
no,
essentially.
not at all. It was just like, okay, yeah, you have some kind of foundation, like
Okay.
you're hearing stuff, but then there's this whole other batch of information
Oh, okay, I got you.
that exists yet.
Got you. Cool, cool. And you went to did you go to a performing arts high school?
Yeah, HSPVA, yep.
Okay, got you. Is that the same school Glasper went to?
Yeah, everybody went there, yep.
Yeah, yeah, because I'm like, you're from Houston. I think like you kind of grew up kind of around him, didn't you? Is that is
Yeah,
that
I mean,
is that a fact?
he's much older than me. I forgot how many years older than me, but I when I was in high school, he was already out in New York.
Hmm.
I met him when I was like 14 or 15.
Yeah.
So yeah, he has maybe 15 years.
Yeah. What other musicians were in that class that you were in?
I'm trying to think. Jeremy Dutton, who's kind of like my partner in crime in music. He and I have been playing together since we were 14, actually.
Hmm.
Then around that time, Paul Cornish, who's a great pianist as
Yeah, I
well.
know that. Yeah.
Um, a lot of different people. Again, there's just so many musicians that come through there. You just like, oh yeah, this person, this person, this person. But it's just a big stream of just musicians that are just constantly coming out. It's so hard to keep out of. But for me, it was Jeremy and Paul. I just got Sterling Overshawn, who's an incredible pianist. He's based in Houston.
Mm.
I came up together, but a lot of people. There's just so much talent down there. You just
For sure, for
yeah.
sure. And your parents were always encouraging you to do music because sometimes it's like, yeah, you're good, but hey, get a regular job, quote unquote.
Oh, for
Or
them.
like how's that dynamic?
Oh, they were just as long as you take it serious, as long as you practice, and say, okay, do it. But as long as you're serious.
Right, right, right. Like you ain't finna have to do it.
Yeah, it's like they're like, if you're gonna be good at this, be very good at this.
And that's how you were. Like you were like always all in.
Yeah, yeah. I would say when I was like 13, I was like, okay, I want to do this like pedal to the metal.
Okay, got you. So that was the turning point. Because
Yep.
every now and then, like I know, like we kind of like yeah, we're good at it, maybe, but like is it what I want to do, like for real, or like that sort of vibe.
I mean, for me, it was, everybody wants to play sports, of course, but for me, I was lazy. I was like, I'm not running them suicides. I'm like, that's cool. I'm like, why?
You
you know,
sound like me. I'm like man, I might hurt my hand, I might trip, I might fall, like sweaty.
I'm like, how
Ah,
many laps are we supposed to do? I was like, I'm not doing that. I've always been naturally strong, but I was like, I'm not running them suicides and doing all that. I'm not doing that. But yeah, when I was 13, I was like, okay, I want to go to HSPVA and I'm going to go to New York after that.
okay, got you. Was there like a specific moment that determined that, or was it just like a culmination of things? Because sometimes, like
I think when I went to HSPVA, the Performing Arts High School, I was like, okay, I'm going to audition for the school. If I get in, then it's like, here we go. But if it doesn't work out to get into the high school, I'll just, you know, do something else.
got you. And so you go to New York, new school.
Yeah, I went to new school.
Yeah, new school. Got you. You finished out the whole
Yeah,
the
I
whole
did.
program, all that good stuff.
That.
So, and what was your major technically?
I guess it was just piano major, whatever it's called. I got to look at the thing, but just piano something. I love the new school. I teach there too.
Oh, dope. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So, how is that shift from Houston to like the New York scene, like being in school and like, because I'm sure, like, I know that you were gigging like while you're in school too, like
Yeah,
just
I
living
mean,
in New York, like high paced lifestyle. I went to New York for a couple of days in October, and I'm
mm,
just like, I love being in New
um,
York, huh?
what's your first time?
I've been a couple of times before, but I went in October. I saw Glasper and Corey Henry showed up at the Blue Note,
Oh, there you go.
and James and Common and all of them. I was like, I like New York. I love the idea of New York. I don't want to live here though.
No, I feel you.
I'm just like it's just a little too much for me.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for me, it was kind of just a natural transition, and plus, all my friends were there,
Okay.
and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go to the new school and just play. You know,
Hmm.
I was already writing music in high school and stuff, so I was like, yeah, I want to. That's the thing from like my high school. My high school was like already like going to college,
Hmm.
so we had all this ensemble time to play. We had all this time to try new stuff out, try new music out that we were writing. So by the time we all got to New York, it was just like, okay, let's continue what we were doing.
Right.
So it just felt like the natural thing to do.
Got you. And the transition to like the college level school, because I'm thinking like, being, because my music school experience, like, doing that, like
Mhm.
trying to gig, trying to do your own stuff, doing the assignments, and then doing like
Yeah,
regular classes.
yeah.
It's like, it's kind of hard to balance
Mhm.
all of that. So is that was easy for you, or like how's that transition?
Yeah, because again, like our high school, we were already doing that. Like we were doing
Right, right.
all the regular classes. We were doing all the. I think we had like 4 hours of music every day to play.
Oh man.
Like just classes time. It was like, yeah, you're doing your art area 4 hours a day,
Man,
and
that
then all
yeah.
these other, you music. I mean, math classes. All the standard stuff. So when I got to the new school, it was less of academic and more music. So I was like, okay, cool. This is easy.
Yeah, no, I dig it. I dig it, man.
But again, unfortunately, we all went to that high school, and also a lot of my friends, like we met through these national program, high school programs, like the Grammy Band and the Vail Jazz Workshop, all these different programs. So
Hmm.
you know, we all were like, "Hey, what school are you going to? What school are you applying to?" So we would all just kind of say, "Oh yeah, let's all go to new school. So and so is going to Manhattan School of Music. So and so is going to Berkeley. So and so is going to Juilliard."
Right.
So we all knew like where everybody was.
Yeah. And so like that kind of click, because like all of that's kind of in well, it's the same area
Yeah, yeah. It was like
subjectively,
we used to play sessions all the time.
essentially. Yeah.
I don't know if people still play sessions, but oh yeah, let's have a session Tuesday at the new school. Then let's go to Manhattan School of Music. We're gonna go play with these people. We were just trying to play.
Yeah. Speak to the if you could speak to the importance of having that community, and having and being a person that pushes the next person to do better, and then also having someone like that in your corner, because it seems like that's a big chunk of how you got to elevate, is like
Just
having people in your corner.
always keep people around you that are pushing you to do better. I mean, steel sharpens steel. Just being around people that inspire you. I try to be around people that there's always something to learn. I mean, you can learn something from everybody, but people who like have the same drive and same discipline as you.
Hmm. Got you, bro. Got you. And so, yeah, so getting out of high school, what would you say your first um major gig was out of high school, or no, out of college, I mean.
Okay, I mean, we can even do out of high school. I mean, I
Well,
was
yeah, yeah, we'll do both.
like my freshman year, I was playing with this vibraphonist, Stephon Harris. Then I was also playing with I think the first band I joined was Jeff Tain Watts' band. He hired me my first year in New York, and we're doing gigs, and I was recording with him. Then the following year, I started playing some with the Roots. That was one of the first big gigs I got called for. Um,
Hmm.
Started doing the Tonight Show with them from time to time. Then started scoring stuff with Questlove. Then Chris Dave took me on tour. My first time ever going to Europe, I was like 19. And,
Sheesh. Oh yeah.
so yeah, I was fortunate enough very early on to be put into some high pressure situations, but also just some great musical situations.
Yeah. I wanted to the group when you were playing with Stefan, was Casey Benjamin there too? Or was that after Casey?
Floating around, yeah, he was starting this newer band called Sonic Creed. We did a record, and Casey, yeah, actually Casey was on the record, but yeah, it was like Terry on Gully, Mike Moreno was floating in and out, Elena Pinderhugh. So it was like Blackout, but then he would have like different, like a larger group.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been working with him since I was like 18.
Got you. So that was the first one. The Stefan one was the first one.
I'll say like Jeff Tane Watts, Stefan. It kind of happened around the same time, like my freshman year.
Okay. Because I wanted to ask you because you said it was high pressure, high intensity. So what was
I'll say high pressure
what?
because a lot of times, like for me, even to this day, I get called in as like a hired gun for a lot of situations where, oh, so and so can't make this thing last minute, so let's call James and can you learn 20 tunes and be ready to rehearse in 48 hours.
Whew.
Like that was my first time I got called to do something with the Roots, where it's like I think James Poyser couldn't do something. He was like, "Hey, can you do this gig?" And I was like, I thought it was like some small gig he couldn't do, and it was like some thing for GQ. It's like LeBron James's All Star party, so it was like all these NBA players and everybody you could think of was there, and we were playing with Nas, and they sent me like 30 songs, maybe 20, 25.
Yikes. Yikes.
Maybe like 24 hours, 48 hours to learn it. Then we rehearsed one day, then gig the next day.
Wild. Wild. Oh yeah, you told that. I remember the story because you told the story to Nate Smith on his show. This story sounds familiar, but I haven't talked to you. But
For me,
yeah, yeah,
that's such a defining moment for me because that was like my
right.
first time where it was like yeah, this is high pressure. But I got through it, and they were so kind, and they till this day they just keep calling me back for stuff. So, but
Right.
I was like 19 years old and I didn't have anything to wear. I was just like I've never done anything like this.
Yeah. Was it were you ever like starstruck at all? Because it's like, dang, this is like the legendary Roots crew and I'm playing with them and like I'm fresh out of high school. Was there ever anything like that?
For me, I'm never starstruck with people. I mean, the people I am starstruck with, people probably don't even know. You know what I mean? So for me, it's just like, they're trusting me to do this gig. Like, let me, just do the gig, act like you're supposed to be there.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. For sure. Cool, bro. And then so Stefan, you had the Roots. You've also I was like, I want to get everything leading up to Yebba, so I don't want to skip out on
Oh,
it.
man, I've done so much random stuff. It's like, man, I sometimes forget. I'm like, oh yeah, I did that actually.
Yeah, what was your favorite gig out of that time that you did, or a favorite situation?
Man, I've been so blessed just to be in so many different situations. Like there was one time where I was playing the Village Vanguard with Chris Potter. Then during the day, I was working with Donald Glover at Electric Lady. So I'd be having to run between like, oh yeah, I got to go to the gig. Then I'm like in the studio with Childish Gambino working on his record. So for me, I feel like I've lived such a lifestyle where it's like, yeah, I do like the hip hop thing, kind of the songwriter thing, but then it's also like I'm still very, part of the jazz culture as it is now. So for me, it's all music. I enjoy all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Same. I treat it all like with the same respect because
For sure.
both are very not only difficult, but it's you have to be immersed in it in order to succeed. So
Mm-hmm. So define how you stayed immersed in it and even compartmentalized doing each type of gig.
just dedicating yourself 100%. It's like you can't just scratch the surface of something. You have to go all the way in and like you have to live it. Like someone like a Chris Potter. It's like all that matters is like what you're playing right then and there. You can't you can't talk your way into sounding good in
Mm.
any place you're in. You just have to sound good and dedicate yourself. So
Got you. Got you. And then also I know like you had done some work on the coloring book album too, right? The Chance the Rapper album.
Randomly met, yeah, these guys. I met Ivan. He was actually a camp counselor at Stanford, and he randomly hit me up. He was like, "Hey man, can you come play on this song?" And again, like I tell you, like man, I treat every situation the same. Like, yeah, man, it's cool. So he called me in. I played like some piano on it. I did a couple different takes. I think they used maybe like a couple of notes on there. I mean, I don't know what they did with how they comped it and everything, but I recognized a couple. I was like, oh yeah, that is my piano kind of tucked in there. But he was like, yeah, this is for Chance the Rapper. I was like, cool, and I knocked it out in like 30 minutes, and
Mhm.
I gave them a lot. I think they used very little, but before I knew it, I was like, oh wow, this song is huge, and it was. I think I was 19 or 20 when I did that too. That was like one of those
Yeah,
times when I started playing on a bunch of records, you know. But yeah, that was Ivan, who's a great producer. They killed that album, and
sure.
yeah, that was like what year was that? Was that like 2015 or something?
20 the mixtape came out 2016, so
That's almost 10 years ago. That's crazy.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
It's, when you're doing all this stuff, do you realize that it's like in the midst of it, like, oh man, like I'm actually doing what I want to do, like on a high level? Because we do so much stuff, and like we kind of stop to think about, dang, like 10 years ago, I would have this is what I dreamed of doing, you know.
What's funny, I'm not sure if I've told this story on another podcast, but for me, when I was 13, when I told you about that turning point where I was like, yeah, I want to go to New York and do this. For me, I was like, worst case scenario, I just want to play in a hotel bar. I want to be a cocktail pianist, and I want to negotiate to where I'm like, hey, I'll play in your bar every night. Just give me a place to stay. But of course, any 13-year-old thinks like ridiculous like that. Like, of course, nobody would want to say like that's how I want to live my life. But for me, I was just like, I just want to play. When I was 13, I remember having that thought. I was like, I want to. Worst case scenario, I'm going to go to play at a hotel in the lobby or whatever, and you don't have to pay me. Just let me stay at the hotel.
Mm.
That's how I was like.
Like if it got down to it.
When it got down to it, I was like, yeah, just go play at a hotel. So
Mm.
everything else for me is extra. I just always wanted to practice and be the best that I can, and have something in my hands where I'm like, yeah, I think I have something that nobody else has.
Right. And that's what I was going to ask you too, because we're going to get into how you compose and how you arrange, because it's like it's different. It's super different, but it's like
For better for worse, yeah.
yeah. But dog, I love it. I appreciate it. I think it's super dope. But but I'm just like, dang, like when like did you realize that also in that sense that man, I'm doing something that's not normal or it's not typical. It's not typical.
I
Like the
mean,
way that you approach going about music and just arranging in that sort of situation.
well, again, like I feel like a lot of this started like in at my high school. A lot of tunes like we would just play for hours. Like me and Jeremy, who I'm always mentioning.
That's your drummer, right?
The drummer, yeah, he's an
Yeah.
incredible composer. And I feel like there are a lot of great composers that come from Houston, like especially in the quote unquote jazz or acoustic instrument, you know, world. Like Jeremy's a great composer, Eric Harlan is a great composer, Mike Moreno is a great composer, Kendrick Scott's a great composer, Robert Glasper is a great composer. It's just all these people, Walter Smith. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we all came from this school, and it's just like you were kind of expected to compose. You're expected to know how to arrange because we'd have these ensemble classes, and it was like kind of like you were in a band. You'd meet like twice a week for like 2 hours, 3 hours each time you meet, and you can play Sunday Moon for two if you want for 3 hours, but
Mm-hmm.
sorry, I got you. But
It's all good.
it's we were expected to be able to compose. So like when we got to college and everything, I was already ready to make a record when I was 18, 19, and same for Jeremy and even one of our best friends, Joel Ross. We were just all just very composer heavy. So
Right.
people say, "Oh, James is a piano player," but for me, I always think I'm like, man, I'm more of a composer and arranger because for me, that's more important than how many notes you can play. So, like, what's your pen game like?
True. True. Got you. So let's get into you working with Yebba because you're essentially like her primary like musician producer
Oh
That's
man,
when
she's
that's
like one of my best friends. We met in I think 2017 now.
okay.
We started hanging out, we go to like different sessions just to hang and just watch. And
You know how you met?
we met at this place, I think Zinc Bar, which is like in the Village in New York. And I'd been a fan of her. She, didn't know me at the time, and we would just hang out, and I was working on my first record, Flight, at the time, and I was like, hey,
Hmm.
I'm like just mess around in the studio, and we'd go to Eric Harlan has a studio called GSI, and we would just go there, mess around, and just play. And then one time we were just like, hey, let's write a song, and
Hmm.
it happened organically. And we just had, when you have a chemistry with like a different musician or with somebody
Right.
as human, you just feel it. So it's just like, wow, that was really easy to do. You know,
Yeah. And it just kept growing from there.
yeah, we just kept churning them out and just kept playing. It's like, hey, I'm working on my album too, so you want to come play? You can try some stuff out with me. And yeah, it's we're still going to this day, but it was just super organic. I mean, it's she and I talk like almost every other day. Just we're just friends that just happen to make music. Which is all my other collaborators, all the other musicians I play with, I feel like is like that too. We're friends first, and the music is just like the bonus. And I
Yeah.
think magic happens.
Yeah. And I feel like that's because the it's super important. Like I don't know if you heard a long time ago, Issa Rae said like network across, like get people that are like in your area, like in your class, instead of like, oh, let me grab this dope drummer that plays with that gig and grab that bass player that
Yeah,
plays
I
with
mean,
that gig.
I
Like,
agree.
dog, grow with the people that are around you, that are next to you. Build that relationship up before trying to, just let me just pick and grab people from over there and that sort
I
of thing.
always feel like, I mean, unless it's like some legend where it's like, yeah, this person has something where it's like
Mm-hmm.
that's that's the only that you have to get it from the source. But other than that, it's like, yeah, build with the people around you. And somebody like Yebba, she's such a genius and brilliant artist where it's like, let's just join forces and let's write some stuff nobody else is writing.
Mm-hmm.
That we like.
Mm-hmm. Speaking on that writing process, I want to know what the balance is between okay, her maybe giving you a melody, hey, this is the melody that I'm going for, and you building the chords around it, or is it like you're gonna find a chord structure and then she
Mm-hmm.
builds off of what you do? Because the music that Yebba makes, or the music that you and Yebba make, these are not typical, just regular 3 6 2 5
Yeah,
R&B chord changes. You know what I'm saying? Like this is like you you can't be like, hey, you know that Yebba song? Hey, call out the chords. No, if you don't know, you don't know it.
yeah. I mean,
So I want to know what that balance is.
well, for me, I don't even consider her an R&B singer. I always tell people like, no, she's a singer songwriter because she's not
Okay.
just singing over tracks. Most of these songs that we do, there's like these are full band takes or
Mm-hmm.
like there's not much comping of instruments. It's like if you look at like a Stevie Wonder song, I always say like you never want to sub in a cover band that's like a Stevie Wonder cover band or an Earth Wind and Fire cover band
Oh
because
no, because if you don't know it, you don't know it.
you don't know it, you cannot learn that in the car.
Mm-mm.
There's no like, oh yeah, let me check this. It's like no, there's always some other little thing in there. And I think for us, like a lot of people they write vertically. We write linearly.
Define what that means.
So a lot of people they're just like up and down. It's like, oh, yeah, here's the loop, and we're just gonna drag it across.
Mm-hmm.
For us, I feel like a lot of our music is cinematic. I feel like a lot of it, has so much emotion and it takes you from one place to another. So I feel like naturally, harmonically, and even melodically, that's where that movement comes from. It's just, we're trying to tell a story, trying to paint, you know, you're trying to paint a world around something, you're trying to put you in a world and it's like, okay, welcome to this world,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
And so it's not necessarily like, hey, here's some chords and you sing, or
No,
not. It's really just
it's like we go together,
got you.
you have a chord thing, or if I come up with like a little melodic thing when I'm playing, her ears are so crazy that she can like I can play the silliest chord and she's like, okay, and she'll respond. It's really like a call and response thing. It's very wild because her ears are crazy, and for me,
Right, right, right.
it's sensitive to as I'm listening to her to respond, and it's no,
Got
she's a very special artist.
No, 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 for sure. And that's a dope way to put it, like call and response. Because I'm like, because I work with a couple of singers. Sometimes it's like, hey, I have this melody, and then like, hey, I'll build around what you sang. Or
Mhm.
sometimes it's like, oh man, like, hey, can you give me some sort of progression that's kind of like in this sort of vibe, and then we build off of that.
Mhm.
But it's just like, yeah, hearing where y'all go, it's like wild. I remember. Well, I performed with this artist that I performed with, Muhammad.
Mhm.
She did a version of Yebba's Heartbreak, and
Mhm.
I had to learn those chords, and I was just like, oh
Oh,
yeah, yeah. But anyways, dope song though, dope song. Love, I love what y'all do, and like I saw Yebba open up. I think I told you this. I saw her open up for JoJo. My bad, John Mayer. For
oh
John
yeah,
Mayer.
yeah.
I was at that show in Atlanta. So
What? Where was that at? Like State Farm or
State
something?
Farm,
Yeah.
State Farm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I love y'all's what y'all do, and I feel like it's really because you would say you're basically on all of that album, right? All
Yeah,
of
the last couple of projects she's done, like the singles, like yeah, I'm on, you know, happy to
like
be part of
I
those. Yeah.
I think it's cool because sometimes artists like, oh man, like this person's gonna produce this thing, this person's gonna produce this thing, and then it's like it's cool because like you kind of get a taste of everything. But when you have one producer, one like primary musician, that's where I think it gives a sense of continuity and and just cohesion.
I mean, I wouldn't, man, I wouldn't even call myself the producer of her stuff. For me, it's just like we just build songs together. But she's so intelligent and like musically, sound to where it's like she hears everything. Like she doesn't need anybody to like tell her what sounds good or what sounds bad. Like she hears like everything. Like it's crazy. So
Yeah,
we're like musical partners in crime because it's like, she trusts me and I just try to, you know, like, hey, it's like Shaq and Kobe kind of thing.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Got you. Let's go back to your album, Flight. Let's go to your first album because that's your first full length project.
Yeah,
Um, Derek Hodge had involvement in this, so
yeah, yeah.
give me that connection and all that sort of stuff.
I met Derek when I was in high school and I was like 15, I think. And they used to come to town with Robert Glasper and
Hmm.
I just would he gave me his email address and I would send him like little things I was working on and like different arrangements and he was so supportive. Then when it came time to make my first record, Don was like, man, you should have somebody in there with you because like I know you can do it by yourself, but it's like it's always good, especially for your first one, to have somebody help you because time is you don't have as much time as you think. You need somebody in there who's like experienced and who has ears and somebody you trust. And I
Hmm.
was like, Derek Hodge.
Got you. And
And he,
so what was actually like his because I've always seen like, oh, when musicians produce another musician's album. So I'm like, okay, they're gonna play on it, or at least not a lot. So I was like, what did he actually?
yeah, he didn't play on it at all. He was just
Yeah.
there. I gave him like the charts. He's like, cool, let's loop this section. He helped with like mix notes and like,
Okay.
man, this was too long. We need to cut this here, cut this here. He was great. And Don was 100% right because in that moment, you have so much adrenaline going. You're trying to like take the best solo or like get the best band take. You might not hear something that sounds great or something that sounds bad because you're focused on like a whole other thing. So having somebody who's listening to it from the outside, he's hearing things that I'm not hearing.
Hmm.
And for him to be there for that first one was just like, yeah, it couldn't have happened without him.
Got you. And it's dope album. I gotta say that this just for me. The Ain't Nobody arrangement.
Of course, there.
Dog. I was like, hey, yo, like, because I
Yeah.
remember, I forget how I came across it. I probably downloaded the album, but I hadn't gotten to it yet, right?
Oh yeah,
I
yeah,
think maybe I wanted to listen to Shaka Khan's Ain't Nobody, or maybe it came up on Shuffle. I was
yeah.
just like, hey, yo, I'm like,
Ruin the
how do
song.
you, I was just like, how, I'm just wondering, for those of y'all listening to watch it or watching the podcast, pause this, go listen to James Francies Ain't Nobody, and then come back. But but I was like,
Thank
how
you.
do how do you like what is the mindset of of arranging. I will say this for me because I think it's easier to rearrange a pre-existing song than to write a song from scratch. It's just
Yeah,
my that's
absolutely.
just my opinion. But I'm just like, how do you get that out of do 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 like
Yeah,
how
yeah.
do you get that, you know?
All the different, that song is so well produced. It's so like
Right.
there's so many different parts. It's so layered. I mean, it's so perfect the way it is. Like that's one of my favorite songs of all times. Like I can listen to that song right now, and I'm just like, I still enjoy it just as much as I did the first time I heard it. So
Nice.
that was a perfect recording.
Hmm.
And it's funny, man. I wrote that arrangement in high school, and yeah, I sent it to all my friends. I was like, "Yeah, we got to play this one day." And when it came time to record, I was like, let me dust this old thing off because we had only played it maybe twice before. So
Hmm.
I was like, we used to just play it instrumentally, and I was like, man, we should have somebody sing over this. That would be kind of hard if we have somebody just sing it exactly the way it is, but then like have the arrangement kind of go through. So a friend of mine, Kate KS, she came into the studio. It was our first time ever meeting. Somebody was like, yeah, you should call Kate, and
Hmm.
she killed it. And we just recorded it. I have it written out, and it turned out much better than I thought it was. Although when I listen to it now, when you listen to your first album, you're like, man, I would do this to this mix, like just mixing notes. I was like, oh, we
Oh,
should
yeah,
do
yeah.
this. But no, I love that arrangement of one of the ones I'm more proud of. And actually, man, Shaka Khan randomly likes it. She sent a
Oh,
note
wow, nice.
with love and telling me that she really liked it. So
It's a
it's
good
not.
that's a good cosign.
It's a good cosign.
Instead of like, yeah. So what did you do? Well,
But it's, of course, I mean,
yeah, but that's just cool that she even noticed it.
yeah, it was super cool. But yeah, I get hit up for that arrangement like every week. It's like, hey, can I have this for my senior recital? Can I have this for my.
You
But
just you should just post your sheet music on your website. Just let people buy it.
yeah, I got to figure out how to set that up. I got to have somebody do that for me. But yeah, man, people hit me up for that one. Then like the My Day Will Come. Like everybody wants the piano chart to that. But for me, I feel like there's just it's so much fun when you just do it yourself. And you
Yeah.
like learn it from by ear because then it's like it means that much more to you.
No, no, no. It puts the work in, but it's like, hey, my recital's like next week. I got three ensembles to learn music for you.
Right,
You
right.
can't. Can you just like email me the
I'm talking about
PDF, bro?
if somebody's cool enough. I'm like, all right, man. But there's this one young lady, I forgot her name, Amanda something. She and her band, they learned it like perfectly. And I was like, see, and they killed it. I was like, man.
Yeah, that's what's up. And then also well, let me not just sit here on the covers because like your original stuff is crazy too. Like 713 is dope, but like also it's just it's easy to gravitate to a cover first,
Of course, of course.
and then go back because like your cover also like your cover of my favorite things is like how to
Oh
like
man.
dog is like
Yeah. I've retired that since. I mean, we played
oh
it so much, but that's
okay.
another one. Like, yeah, that's came out pretty cool. Especially the way we recorded it was like, I got all my best friends together and we just had fun.
Hmm. So I'm like wondering, are you thinking of the song first and then like, oh, let's add this eclectiveness to it, or is it like, ooh, I'm gonna play these chords, I'm gonna play this pattern like in seven or whatever, going back and forth, and it's like, oh, dang, you know what melody will work over on top of that favorite things. Like,
No, I
how does
thought of
that come
favorite
about?
things first, and actually, that's another one of my favorite, not favorite songs, but there's an arrangement that Marcus Miller did for Al Jarreau back in like the '90s. Check that
Okay.
out. It's like Al Jarreau, Marcus Miller's playing, Joe Sample I think is playing, and like
Oh shoot, Joe Sample.
Michael Brecker takes a ridiculous solo on it.
Mm-hmm.
Kathleen Battles also singing the higher part. But I used to hear that like my uncle, like he would just play that around Christmas time. He just have it on like on a cassette, and it would just play in the car like
Mm-hmm.
every day. And I was like, man, it's such a cool song, such a cool arrangement. So then when I finally we got into arranging, I was like, man, I want to arrange my favorite things.
Yeah.
And Yeah, it was definitely inspired by Marcus's arrangement.
Got you. Cool, bro. Cause yeah, I love both albums. Another one coming soon this year.
Yeah, we're actually finishing up now. I got to go tomorrow to start mixing and stuff. But yeah, it's basically done.
Trio, like what's the vibe?
Trio, yeah, trio,
Yeah,
yeah.
man. I'm looking forward to it. I want to ask about the Pat Metheny gig. How did that come about? And then also, I want to know when you're on a gig like that, how much freedom do you get to do James instead of like, oh man, I'm playing instead of, or versus this is what Pat Metheny wants me to do. Like, what's the balance on a gig like that?
Well, with that, it was so much music. Those shows like 3 hours long, so it was kind of like once you have the set, it was kind of set in stone, and it was here's the music, here where the solos go. It's kind of like the showbiz. But it was fun at the time. But for me, I kind of just was like I wanted to do some other things. So, but I
Mm-hmm.
did for a while. I played my first gig with him, I think in like 2016 or 2017, like something like that.
Mm-hmm. How did he find you?
He's one of those people, man. He like watches YouTube, and he had known about me since high school.
Oh wow.
Yeah, yeah. So
So just like on the pulse sort of vibes.
he's one of those people. He keeps his ear to the ground about younger musicians. So yeah.
And he just hit you up one day, just emailed you, or
We met in Monterey Jazz Fest. I was playing and he was playing, and we met on the plane. He was like, "Yeah, come by my house. Let's play."
wow,
Yeah.
got you. But yeah, so because like also on that gig, there was no bass player on that gig,
Oh,
so that seems like a lot of pressure to me. I'm like, dang, I'm handling because the key stuff isn't regular chord, like it's not
yeah. It's
just
a lot
regular
of
chord change. There's a lot of
chords,
stuff
and
going on. So
I'd been doing that the
mhm,
baseless thing with Chris Potter for a couple years prior to
mhm.
that. So that's kind of where that idea came from. It's like, oh yeah, we'll just do a baseless thing with this too. But me, Chris Potter, and Eric Carlin, we have the Chris Potter Circuits Trio, which is a
Yeah.
bass trio, and yeah, that's kind of how that whole thing started.
Mm-hmm. Got you, bro. Yeah, because I went to that was the first time I met you because I was at
Yeah.
that show a few years ago, and it was just crazy because it was like I've never like I've heard of Pat Metheny. I've had to play a couple of Pat Metheny songs like in school and all that sort of stuff. But watching that project or watching that show and then like watching you also like on keys, but also killing like key bass is just like
Man, thank you.
amazing. Yeah. You running for Keybase, what are you doing? Trillion?
Yeah, it's like a mixture of like Trillion and some of the what's the other bass program? There's so many different patches I have, but it just all depends. But they're all the same. You
Okay,
know,
got you, man. And because I'm like on that gig, he's and you say it's kind of set in stone on that gig. It's not really too much moving around.
yeah, it's like because there's so much going on, so it's like
Right.
the set is kind of the set, which is it's cool.
Yeah, got you. Got you. So I want to know what's like a musical goal for you? Like, what do you want to do? Like, you've played with so many artists, you've played on a bunch of albums, you've got a couple of albums on your own, you've toured. What's like a musical goal for you?
Man, just to keep getting better. I mean, for me, it's like progress. I never want to stop growing. I just want to every time I hear recording myself, or I just want to, man, I'm getting good. I just want that feeling. I want to just
Mm.
constantly just be like, wow, yeah, I sounded good tonight.
Yeah, yeah.
For me, I want to be able to execute anything I think of. And I think, a lot of people don't think about that, but it's like, in the moment, you want to be able to, whatever your mind thinks of, you don't want your hands to limit you. So for me, I just want to have that freedom, that mastery of like whatever I, whatever I want to be able to follow my imagination.
Okay. That's good. That's good. All right. No, I was like, oh, that's profound. Yeah, I like that. All right. So I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions that I ask everybody who comes through the podcast. So first of all, give me your top three. And if it's more than three, it's fine. But like top three keyboard player, like legends, and then top three keyboard players that you can call up and it's like, dog, that's my dog. But like he or she killing.
Oh man.
If it has to be more than three, it can be more than three. But like your favorites, top three, top three.
And what style, what genre, what kind of?
As long as they play keys, it doesn't matter. If you want to break it up, you can break it down. If you want to break it up, hey, these are my jazz people, these are my gospel people, R&B people, whatever. But like, it doesn't matter.
I'm just going to top three that's on my in my head right now. Travis Sales, because
Mm-hmm.
Travis is Travis. I'm just gonna say, I mean, the greatest piano player of all time, Gonzalo Rubalcaba. He's like the
Oh,
great.
okay.
He's the baddest.
What's his name again?
Gonzalo Rubalcaba. He's like a Cuban pianist. He's
Okay.
like you hear him and you're just gonna want to just sell your piano today. He's just like so eBay or Facebook Marketplace.
Reverb, even.
He's like just sell your piano. You're gonna want to just like let me
Yeah.
start selling this insurance. No, but Gonzalo, he's my favorite piano player of all time. But I think, I mean, he's so far ahead of everybody. I'm going to think of people that I'm like, that you can I can pick up the phone and just like, yeah, this is the
Yeah.
baddest.
Yeah. So that's why I said like three legends and then like three people that you can like your homies.
Okay. Greg Gaines, of course, Travis Sales,
Mm-hmm.
Robert Glasper, of course.
Yeah,
See, that's three already, but I mean, there's so many great musicians out here.
for sure. Absolutely.
Paul Cornish is another one of my favorites. I'm gonna start naming people, and
Just
you can
name them. Name them. Just list
take
them off.
back to the three that you want. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. List them off. It's all good.
Who else? James Poyser, he's a legend. Who else? Man, this is so many. I don't want to leave nobody out. Joe Harley's great. If I think about people who are just working, who can do like
Mm-hmm.
any gig, Taylor Eisty, he's another one of my big brother figures hero. He's another one that's just like insane. Eldar Jangirov.
Woo! I was on I knew about Eldar before I found out about Robert Glasper. And so Eldar,
Oh,
like that was kind of shaping kind of how I was hearing stuff too. I was like, man, I didn't realize it at the time because I was younger. Like if I listened to it now, I'd be like, whoa. But like it was still crazy to me when I was like 9, 10 years old. Like my dad had I had a couple of Eldar CDs. And so I was just like, yeah.
ridiculous. It's insane. Chris Fishman's another great musician. I'm thinking
Mhm.
about people who are just like you can put Chris in any situation and he's amazing. Yeah, it's just so many great musicians out here.
For sure.
Look for so many different sounds. There's people that like they do this, but then it's like, okay, who would you call if you need somebody to build sounds for you? You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Right.
Like, what's the guy? Chad Self. He's a great keyboardist. He's like sound alien. Big
Mhm.
Yuki. He's another incredible, just like alien. So man, there's just so many different routes that you can go. We all kind of come from like a certain core, but then like we all kind of take our different paths, and it's like
Yeah.
there's certain things like man, I look at Yuki and Chad sometimes. I'm just like, man, I have no idea how y'all just made a prophet sound like a seagull. It's like
Right.
just,
Yeah.
but it's just so many different bags people have, and I think that's the beauty of just playing an instrument, especially like a keyboard instrument, because the way the technology has become, you can. There's always some new instrument. There's always some new like thing to learn. Who else? Man, Julian Pollock's like that. Man, he's always just building sounds and like he's like a scientist. You know,
Yeah. I got to talk to him too. Julian's been on the podcast. He was on last season.
yeah, we toured with Marcus Miller for like a summer or something before, and
Oof.
there was a lot of keyboard played. There was a lot of harmony.
Yeah, for sure. And so you were on piano and he was maybe on synths and stuff? Like how was that balance?
We would go back and forth. We did like a whole summer, and we would just he had his setup, I had my setup, and we would just go back and forth. Man, it was beautiful.
No, sounds like fun. Sounds like fun. Do you know Caleb Sean? You know Caleb McCampbell?
Oh my God, that's a special musician. He's very special.
Yeah, yeah.
You heard him sing?
He's killing. He's amazing.
He's a special musician, man. Caleb, like he posted this one cover of him singing like Joyful, like a couple years ago, like some like a Christmas thing. I was like, man, this this is just so just man, he's the baddest because
Yeah.
he can sing and he's a special musician.
Nah, Caleb's amazing and cool people too. I've gotten to talk to him as well. Like he's been on the pod.
Oh,
But I saw
automatically.
him. Um, I came across him first time. I think he was filling in with Snarky Puppy,
Yeah.
and then like Funky Knuckles, and then he ended up he plays with PJ Morton, and so I love
Oh,
PJ Morton. So it's
what's
just
the other guy in LA? Xavier. I forgot his last name. I've never met him before.
Kaplan.
He's another man.
Like Ghost Note, he plays in Ghost Note. Yeah,
I've
yeah,
never met him. I'm just been a fan from afar, man. He's a great musician.
same. I haven't gotten to meet him either, but I'm like, no, he's dope too. But I know
Yes.
who you're talking about. Yeah, they're out here, bro. They're out here.
Oh
Um,
man, Becca Gostisvili, you should talk to him next. He's like another like just
what's the name?
piano. Becca Gostisvili, he used to play. I guess he still plays with Stanley Clark. He's another one, man. Like scary musician. Like his piano beats he makes, he's ridiculous.
Got you.
Yeah,
Got you.
he's been ridiculous since he was like 12. It's like hilarious.
Yeah,
Yeah, Becca, that's my dude.
got you. What's the worst gig you've ever had, or the worst thing that happened to you on a gig?
Oh man, I mean, for me, the worst is like if somebody doesn't pay you in time, then it's just like you automatically on the worst list. So I have a couple of those.
Mm-hmm.
I eventually get paid, but I'm not going to say. But
No, no, no. Don't give anybody's names. Yeah,
for me, it's an automatic. If somebody doesn't pay you, you're just like, okay,
yeah.
this is the worst gig.
Right, right, right.
But I don't know. I don't like to put negativity out there. I like to, I like to think about the good times. But
For sure.
certain pop singer that took this. I'm gonna say they because I'm not gonna give you gender, but they took a while to
To
pay.
get to pay.
They took a while to send the wire, and it was
Is this record out?
yeah. I did a tour with this person, and it
Oh,
was
God. You got to text me. You got to. We'll talk afterwards.
man. But this person is notorious for that. So you probably, if I told you the name, you're like, oh, okay. But it
Joe,
took.
you better watch out. That thing, that thing, that thing. That person.
I'm not. I'm not
Everything
going.
is everything.
I'm not gonna go into detail.
All right.
I'm not gonna go into detail.
Nothing even matters at all. All right. I won't say anything.
I'm
I
not
won't say
going.
anything.
I don't.
All
I
right.
don't, I don't spread negativity.
All right. I'll leave it. I'll leave it alone. I feel like I'm on the right track, but I'll leave it.
I I
I don't
defer.
know. I don't know though. I don't know. Um.
Everything, man. Everything's cool. I'm
All
just
right. Cool.
blessed.
Well, in that vein, so what was you? So, do you think out of all the stuff that you've done, do you have a favorite or like a top three?
I would say, man, the Yebba stuff is very special to me because
Mm-hmm.
just how we've kind of built that stuff just from over the years. Then the stuff I play with my friends, like Jeremy and Burners, like the guys from like the instrumental trio stuff we do.
Yeah.
That stuff is very special because again, I've been playing with Jeremy since I was like 13,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know. I feel like man, there's something special in everything you do. I think if you say yes to something, there's always something special there. So, but I would say the Yebba stuff, the trio stuff I get to do with my friends, and I don't know if I mean, see if I see these lists, if I start doing the top three, then it's like, well, what
Yeah,
if you know what I mean? But
I got you. But no,
yeah,
that's cool though, because it's like there's such a wide range, and
yeah, very
so
wide.
yeah,
Good music is good music.
for sure. All right, this is the hardest question for most people. It's the hardest question. Build your own super group. You can be in the group. You don't have to be, but build a band. Unlimited availability, unlimited budget. The only caveat is that they have to be alive. So you build a band, at least a rhythm section, and what vocalist or artist that you want them to be accompanying. So you
Oh,
can grab this bass player from this gig, this drummer from this gig. You don't have to be a part of it. If you want to, you can. You can have multiple keyboard players, you can have multiple horn players, you can add an orchestra. The rules have kind of gotten out of hand since the first episode, but this
that's funny, man. I'm so boring. I mean, I believe in the people around me so much. I'm like, man, the people I play with, they're super people to me. So I would put Jeremy Burners,
Mhm.
Emmanuel Wilkins, Joel Ross, and myself. For me, I'm like, I would put that starting five against anybody.
Got you.
But
Well,
I'll play along. I will play along though.
all right, cool.
I will play along. Okay, so I would put I put Chris Dave on drums
Mm-hmm.
and Steve Jordan on drums too, double drums. Then on bass, I would put Pino Palladino.
Oof.
Then I would put Mark Turner on saxophone. Then I would put Nicholas Payton on trumpet, backing up like D'Angelo or something.
Mm. Who's on keys?
I'll put I think like a wild card. I don't know. I don't know who I'd put on keys. Who would I put on guitar though? That's I don't know, man. These super groups, it's just you on paper it sounds good, but then it's like, what would it sound like? I'll put Sharky in there, but then it's starting to turn into the D'Angelo band.
Right.
Yeah, Sharky in there. Then who would be on keys? I put James Poison in there. Then put me on. I'll be on aux. I'll be aux.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Got you.
That's just today. Like tomorrow, if you ask me this question in like 5 minutes, I'll be like, actually, if I was doing a fusion project, I would do the.
Mm-hmm. You got something? If you got something for that, you go ahead and
See, now I'm giving you my ideas, and now somebody's gonna be like, I'm gonna put this band together. No, okay, here's another band. Nate Smith,
all right.
Hadrian Farrar
On what does he play?
plays bass.
Okay.
Chris Potter.
Mm-hmm.
I put Becca and Big Yuki together.
Okay.
I'd want to hear that.
Dope. I dig it. I dig it. Yeah, I was like, that's always been an interesting question. I'm like, man, what group do you want to hear? What group do you want to put together?
You said super group. I mean, for me, I was like, I put my squad
for sure.
My squad's good.
For sure. For sure. I dig it. So yeah, man, what's the last thing you want to leave with the people? Usually it's a word of inspiration or something like that. I leave the door open for it to be whatever. No one's let it go that way. Like, oh, if you want to rant about something, but man, like, what do you want to?
Just go practice. Just practice. Practice. That's not a game. We talk about practice. No, but seriously, man, consistency. I tell everybody, listen, you can practice for 8 hours one day, then not practice for a week. It's better if you practice 2 hours every day consistently. Just consistency is what builds muscle memory and foundation. Just have a strong foundation, practice, and you'd be surprised.
For sure. Socials.
Social. What is Instagram? It's like James Francies 88. Then Facebook is just my name, and my Twitter is very silly from like when I was 13. The King James 88. It's very silly. Yeah, those are my social.
Got you. Appreciate y'all tuning into another episode of the Major Keyz podcast with our host, I done messed up. Appreciate y'all tuning into another episode of the Major Keyz podcast. Special guest James Francies. Y'all make sure y'all get his latest project, Purest Form, on all streaming platforms. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. We'll see y'all next time. Keep pressing on.
Yes, sir.